It's your boy Charles. Charles on World, just checking in. Hope you guys having a good evening. We are getting ready to delve into another book audio reaction. Let's go ahead and play it, and I'm gonna come back with my reaction. Appreciate it, guys.
Relativity still had somewhat of a say in what we were doing, and I didn't like that. Case in point, we were in New York one time, and Gangsta Boo was acting like a real diva and running up our limousine bill. She was using a car service to go all around Manhattan shopping. I told the people at Relativity to stop letting our artist run up a bill if they were going to take it out of our check, which they were. I shouldn't have had to call someone to stop running up bills on my behalf without my knowledge. I ended up having to cuss Alan out about that situation. To his credit, Alan ended up firing the woman who worked there and was authorizing Boo to run up those expenses. That made me feel like Alan really did have my back. Ultimately, I think that Boo finessed the employee, but whatever bill Boo ran up for personal expenses shouldn't have come out of Hypnotized Mind's pocket. I talked to Boo about acting like this. I approached it like a daddy who was trying to speak with his daughter. She said she understood, and I'd tell her that we were going to make it, but that I needed to know what was going on. We weren't in a position to waste money, I'd tell her. We needed to use what money we had to promote our albums by running commercials and booking more studio time. Making songs is cool, but you've got to promote them. At this point, DJ Paul and I had been selling our mixtapes out of the trunks of our cars, going to stores ourselves, and setting up our own shows for years. Nobody talks about that part, the grind. They just want to talk about the music, not the legwork and the money you've got to put up to be successful. It takes real effort to make real money. DJ Paul and I understood that from the beginning. When people would meet us, they'd be like, "When I first heard your music, I thought y'all were devil worshippers. I thought I'd walk in the studio and see you doing a ritual with a cross or a Ouija board, and I'd have to run out. Now that I've met you, y'all are actually cool, smart, and not as crazy as I thought you'd be." After people spent time with us, they walked away knowing that we were smart and serious. Regardless of what else we had going on, Paul and I always made a point of staying on top of our business. The thing about our deal with Relativity was that they let us keep putting out projects through Selecto Hits. With a major label like Relativity, you get an advance up front. But in order to see any royalties, you've got to sell enough units to make up the company's investment in you. With our Selecto Hits deal, we'd see money as soon as we sold the first piece of product. We get a check every month from Selecto Hits and twice a year from Relativity if we recouped our expenses. With that in mind, even though we got with a major, we didn't feel like we should run all our projects through there. Alan Grunblatt at Relativity told us that he didn't care that we were still putting out independent projects. When people saw what we were doing, putting out things on a major label through Relativity and still dropping our independent albums via Selecto Hits, they couldn't believe it. 3-6 Mafia was the major group, so they were on the major label, Relativity. T-Rock, Killer Clan, K's, Paul, and me with our solo albums, and later La Chat, Little White, and Frasier Boy. We looked at those albums as independent and extra money in our pocket. That independent money we were getting by dropping projects through Selecto Hits was too good to give up. We were making a lot of money. A couple million here, a couple million there. Money was rolling in real fast. When we'd be on the road, we'd be dancing on our tour bus together. Gangsta Boo would be cracking jokes. The love was there. We were in a groove, and I was trying to maximize every opportunity we had. Paul and I came to an agreement. If an album had 10 songs, he'd produce 5 songs, and I'd produce the other 5. We'd often collaborate on our songs, but we wanted it to be as equal as possible between us. We also decided to split the publishing and ownership of the songs, regardless of who made them, We wanted to do as much as we could to remove egos. Paul and I didn't want to push for a single because one of us did it. We wanted to only be concerned with picking the best songs. I was the first one in the studio every day, usually there at 7 a.m. I was ready to go. Paul would come at 5 or 6 p.m. because he'd been up all night and would stay until I arrived the next morning. Paul and I were often the only ones in the studio, other than the engineer and someone working the phones for us. It's not because we didn't want anyone else there with us. They just didn't show up. Other times, if I knew someone was on too many drugs, I'd just do what I had to do and leave before some of the other members would show up. I didn't want to be around all that madness. I quickly realized that I wasn't going to be hanging out a lot and kicking it with everyone. That's why I always tried to keep things on a business level. I knew we had a good thing going, and I knew we didn't have to be friends to make money. We just had to go to the studio, record some songs, do some shows, and we could each go our own way. Crunchy Black, Coops Danica, and Lord Infamous would hang out. DJ Paul would hang out with Crunchy and Lord. Even though they hung out together, they'd still have tension with each other. Crunchy was reckless. I thought he was a ticking time bomb. Sometimes, he'd just pull out a gun and start shooting without even thinking. That's just how he was. A lot of the chaos he created was unnecessary. Knowing who Crunchy was before, the low-key dancer I met a few years ago, I didn't want to see that. Thankfully, Paul and I worked well together, which kept things running smoothly. We worked Monday through Friday and took the weekends off. That was our routine, and it was working well. We'd do our own beats, and we'd work on beats together. I would sample a lot. If I wanted to play a bass line, I would riff a couple of notes and then loop it. We usually came up with the hooks and song ideas, too. We'd have a list of subjects we wanted to talk about. If we had 16 songs on an album, every song had to talk about a different subject. We'd look at our list, and we'd do a crunk song like Tear the Club Up, a serious song like In Too Deep, a weed song like Now I'm High Part 3, a killer song like Walk Up to Your House, a robbery song like Sweet Robbery, a song about bitches like Porno Movie. We talked about what was going on in our neighborhood and in the streets of Memphis. My parents didn't listen to much of my music. When my mom did happen to hear a song, she would complain about the content. My father dismissed her concerns. He was happy that I was starting to become successful and that I wasn't out there robbing anybody to get my money. He didn't care about our sometimes demonic image either.
Looking for a professional photographer for your next big event? Need video of your special day? Then look no further. For $100 an hour, have a professional photographer or videographer shoot your wedding, birthday party, quinceañera, bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, anniversary party, or whatever your special occasion may be. Highlight your event with professional, crisp photos and video. Check out Charles Arness Photography on Instagram, as well as book us for your next event. Must live in the Southern California area.
Like me, he just took it as a gimmick. My father was happy that I was making an honest living. It really hurt my father that Pat had gotten arrested for robbery. He knew that committing one crime usually led to committing more, to being shot at, to going back and forth, to and in and out of jail. He didn't want that for his kids, so he was happy for me. While my dad was enjoying my success from afar, my drive kept me focused. I wanted to make it so bad that I was hustling 24 hours a day. If my family wanted to see me, they'd have to come down to the studio or catch me at a show. We were on a major label, selling hundreds of thousands of albums and performing in more and more places around the country. My dream was starting to become a reality. Even with all the success early in the business, 3-6 Mafia wasn't a happy group. It didn't take long for me to realize that everybody in 3-6 Mafia hated each other. There was a lot of jealousy, and we diss each other on our own songs. Paul and I didn't care about that, because if that's what it took for them to let their rage out, so be it, as long as it sounded good. Plus, they didn't name names. They were subliminal disses, maybe even just a competition thing in some cases. But I knew what we were dealing with. Memphis is a city filled with haters, and we suffered from that. I would hear things that somebody in the group had said about me. Yeah, we'd be in the studio together. Maybe we'd go to a club. But things got to the point where I didn't want to be around them because Lord Infamous would snort some coke and he would lose his fucking mind. He and Paul were in a group together before I linked up with them, so Lord was upset. He wanted to be an owner of our company, too. Lord didn't think I should have had what I had, since I came along after he and Paul were already making music together.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Charles and Ezra just checking in. So what do y'all think about that book, man? Pretty interesting, huh? Crazy, man. Interesting story. Listen, go ahead and leave your comments and subscribe to Charles and Ezra. Appreciate it.